All right, I've been trying to work out where to sit and where to do this, probably because I need to be able to use to be able to type. So I was in the kitchen right next to my Thermomix, and that was not going to work. So I will be moving at some point. All right. So thank you guys for coming along. I've got a really short PowerPoint I'm going to show you, which is just really telling you a bit about what we're going to do. And I'm just going to make Boone a co-host so she can let people in.
Sure.
Thank you, Boone. So a short PowerPoint, and then we'll get into actually the practicalities of it all. Okay, so first of all, all right, so created and scaled recipes is obviously what we're going to do. And there are 3 ways that you can do the created recipes, all right? And I will go into this in a little bit more detail. But the first way is you can import recipes into created recipes in Cookidoo or from Cookidoo. You can also import from the Thermomix Recipe Community. And if you are a fairly new user of the Thermomix, you may not know about the recipe community, but it is there, and it's what everybody used before we had Cookidoo. You can add your own recipes into the recipe community if you want to, and it's a good way to share them. So in our Easter class a couple of weeks ago, Irene has made the tangjong, hopefully that's right, hot cross buns, and she put them into the recipe community so people were able to import them into created recipes for Cookidoo. And you can add your own recipes. So if you have a favorite recipe, you can add that in as well. Some of the really important tips are you work on your computer and then you check on the screen of your Thermomix to make sure you've done it properly. So I think created recipes came out about 6 months or so ago. And I remember the first time I did it, I thought I'd done an amazing job, and I got on and I could not cook the recipe. And I will explain a little bit more about that as we go in. But so you do need to go between the screen of your Thermomix and Cookidoo. And those of you with the TM5, you can absolutely do this, but they will not, even if you've got a cook key, they will not end up on the screen, whereas they will with your TM6. In the ingredient list, when you're importing your recipes into created recipes, you do need to actually put in the whatever the amount is that is required. And I'll show you again how important that is when we get into it. And there's also, when you're putting them in there, there's a drop-down menu, and that's how you add your ingredients. High heat is not an available option. And I've noticed this with also with the scaling. You can't scale high heat recipes. However, it may well be, so just for example, we've got the creamy coconut chicken curry with cauliflower rice. And if you use the TM5 version, you can scale it, but you can't scale it if it's a TM6 version. And that's just to do with, because the high heat, is so intense. If you halve a recipe, and this was learnt the hard way by a consultant early on, halved a recipe, use the high heat, and the base, the plastic base underneath the bowl actually melted. So it's there for a reason. You can't do it for a reason. But dough and rice cooker modes are available. Now, with the scaled recipes, there are some recipes where you can do that just right there in the recipe in Cookidoo. There are some where you import into created recipes, and you can also, again, add your own and scale them. Again, with that, the high heat is not available, so look for the TM5 option, okay? And I will send this out to all of you, but these are the recipes on Cookidoo, and there may be more, but these are the ones that were all worked out for scaling before this actually was launched. So I will send that all out to you in a follow-up email. All right, so I'm going to stop sharing for a minute. That's the little PowerPoint done. I'm just going to look for the next thing I want to do, which is that. Okay, cool. All right, so now we're going to go into Cookidoo, and I'm going to show you the 3 ways that you can get recipes into created recipes and how they work. Right. I've picked fairly easy things because, you know, it's a time thing, and this should be pretty easy to do. All right. Now, I don't know if anybody's looked at this pumpkin soup. What I love, I mean, it's a good pumpkin soup, but what I love is the pumpkin soup that's down the bottom in the tips and tricks. It's an Asian style pumpkin soup. And what you can do, obviously, when you're cooking, you can go backwards and forwards from the screen of your Thermomix and look at the whole recipe, and come down here and look what you got to do. But if you're anything like me, I can only remember 1 or 2 things at a time. So the easiest thing to do is to import it into Creative Recipes. So I'm going to go add to Creative Recipes. All right. So here I'm now in the Creative Recipes. I'm going to edit the name, and I'm going to call it Asian style pumpkin soup, because what this means is I'm going to be able to cook it off the screen of my Thermomix without having to go backwards and forwards. I'm going to leave the picture there because I haven't got a picture of the other one. All this remains the same, but what I'm going to do, and this is a really good example of your Creative Recipes. Now, if I leave this as it is, like the onion and the butter and the pumpkin and the carrot, I'm not going to know when I go onto the screen of my Thermomix, I am not going to know how much I've got to put in there. It won't tell me. So when I said about using the drop-down menu, this is what I mean. So hold on, let me just make sure I got difficult because I've got you guys in a corner there too. So I'm going to actually, before I edit that, I'm going to actually edit the ingredients. So I've got my brown onion, I want my butter, I want all these things. I don't want cream. What I'm actually going to do there is I'm actually going to edit it, and I'm going to put, in the Asian version, it's coconut cream. Oops. All right, so that's good. Salt and pepper. I'm not going to have basil because that doesn't really go with the Asian style. And I just made a quick note. This is another tip. Make a note of what you're going to change on something else so that you don't have to flick between screens as well. Or you may have it on your phone whilst you're working on your computer. All right, so the other things I need are 2 centimeters of ginger. Take that one off. I'm going to add 1 red or green chili. I'm going to add 2 sprigs coriander, and I'm going to add 1 stalk of lemongrass. Okay, so those are my ingredients. Now I need to come back into the method, and I know that all those extra things I've just added need to go in with the onion. So I'm going to go in here, and you can see here I've got 1 brown onion. Hang on, before I do that, hold on, get out of there. So what I'm going to get rid of the onion there, and I'm going to come into scales. That's where I add my ingredients, and this is what I mean by the drop-down menu. So if you get to this, it will actually tell you exactly what you got to add. So I'm adding my 1 brown onion. All right. Then I'm just doing a comma. I'm going to go back to my scales because it's a convenient way to do this. I'm going to add my ginger, comma, back to the scales. My chili, comma, back to the scales. And you could type all this in if you wanted to, but if I do it this way, I know I haven't forgotten anything. Back to the scales and right down for my lemongrass. Okay, so that's all my ingredients. I'm putting it into the mixing bowl, and I'm going to chop 3 seconds speed 5, and I'm going to get rid of that. 3 seconds speed 5, remember that. And I'm going to go here, and I'm going to go 3 seconds, and I'm going to select the speed, which is 5. Okay. Scrape down the bowls, the mixing bowl, the spatula. That's all good. Add the butter. So I'm going to come back in here. I'm going to find the butter in this list. There it is. So it's now telling me it's 20 grams of butter, not just butter. And I'm going to actually do this here so that I can remember what I've got to add. Oh, hang on, I can't see it now. Get rid of that a second. 3 minutes, 120 speed 1. Okay. 3 minutes. Temperature is going to be 120. And it was speed. Where are we? Slowly. Sorry, it is a little bit time consuming. So we're not going to go into quite so much detail with all the recipes, but I want to show you one in detail. All right, so now what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to get rid of that. Actually, that was probably okay. All right, so I've got that and there, and now I'm going to again look at my pumpkin, and I'm going to weigh in. Oh, maybe, yeah, pumpkin, where's my pumpkin? Pumpkin, all right. Peel it into pieces, and the carrots. Where are you, carrot? Carrot, there it is. All right, so 1 carrot into pieces. And again, I'm going to chop. This might actually be okay, I think, because it was imported. Scrape down the side bowl. Yeah, okay. Add my water. There we go, 500 grams of water. Because if it just says water, I don't know what it is, how much it is. Adjust the taste, the stock paste. Oops, needs a little gap in there. And cook for 20 minutes, 100 degrees, speed 1. Okay, add my, I'm not doing cream, I'm doing my coconut cream. Ingredients, where you were part way down, there we are. Coconut cream and blend. All right, so that season, I'm not having basil. No, not in my variation. There we go. All right, so then I'm going to confirm, and I'm going to say that's done. So what we actually will just go and do, oh, I'm going to hit my Thermomix before it turns itself off. We are going to have a look on the screen of the Thermomix. Hold on. And just have a look at that recipe. So I'm going to stop sharing a second. And I'm going to come into the created recipes. And there's my Asian style pumpkin soup here with the non-Asian picture. All right, so this is how it looks. Asian style pumpkin soup created by me. Start cooking. Enjoy your own recipe. All right, so you can see these are the instructions I put in there. And if I click on, if these are green at the bottom, it means that there's something that is in there, if you like. So I put my scales on. I've got all those ingredients there. Remember that I made sure that I had the amounts, and I can just weigh things in and so on. And when I finished with that, I got to the top right-hand side and click that off. And then it says chop 3 seconds, speed 5. I come into the little blade symbol, and it's got 3 seconds, turn to speed 5. All right, so it's clunkier than the guided cooking, but it's still there and it's a lot easier. Then I go to the next step. There's my butter. And there I are, 3 minutes, 120 degrees, speed 1. And so on. So that's how it looks on the screen. My pumpkin and my carrots. 15 seconds, speed 7. And so on. All right, so we don't need to go through the whole thing, I don't think. shows you how it works. Does that make sense? Have got any questions about that? No, all good. All right, go back over here. And all right, so that's importing from Cookidoo. And what are the other things I've imported from there? I'll just go back and show you my Cookidoo for a second. My imported recipes. So other things, that was one I did the other day for a class that we had. But things like, this is actually a friend of mine, her gluten-free pizza base. So I've put that in. That's a muffin that I make. This one is a chocolate cake, and I know I spoke to Kathy and Faye, I think, about this the other day. In the Cookidoo version, the classic Cookidoo version, not the creative recipes, you whip the egg white separately, etc., etc. This one, you just chuck everything in. So that's why I put it in there as a quick version. So just have a look and see if there are other versions in the tips and tricks, or and there might be something there that you want to import. Okay. So the next thing we're going to have a quick look at is, let me get to the right. Hang on, not that. Hold on. Let me just stop sharing a second and find the right thing in the background. Okay. Sorry, there's a lot of screens to deal with today. Now, I have never made this cake, but I see in the things that people like to eat, or the most cooked recipes in the recipe community, this is always up there. So I thought, well, I'll just show you how to add this one. It's pretty simple. You can see with the recipe community, you can create your own account. You don't have to, but if you want to add a recipe, you need to. I have no idea what my password is. It's such a long time since I did that. But you can see on the recipe here, it says add to Cookidoo. So I can add it to Cookidoo. I'm adding it from the recipe community. And here it is. It's in my guided cooking. Well, my creative recipes, sorry. But again, if you have a look at this, let me just have a look. Yeah. If I leave it like that, I'm not going to be able to cook it off the screen, because you can see, let's edit this, that it hasn't got, it's just got sugar, butter, eggs, banana, and vanilla. So that won't show up on that screen. So I'm going to enter, and now I'm going to go, instead of the sugar, I'm going to go here and I'm going to find my raw sugar. Okay. And with the butter, again, I'm coming here and I'm, oh, I've got to find the butter. There's the butter, missed it. Oh, oh, butter. The eggs. 2 eggs. The bananas. And so on. All right. So and then when I come the vanilla, I better I'll put the vanilla in too, just so we can have a look at this. I'm not going to go through the whole recipe because it's exactly the same as I did in the last one. Well, vanilla extract. Did it say milk there as well? Did I miss milk? Anyway, this is where you have to go back and have another look and just check things out. All right. But I'm going to add to the bowl, and here when it says mix for 50 seconds for 5.5, there I do absolutely have to do this, and it's going for 50 seconds, and the speed is 5.5. Done. And then I'll get rid of this. Right, add remaining ingredients. So again, if I didn't know what the remaining ingredients were, that's going to be useless in the recipe. So I'm not going to keep going through that, because I think that's, you can see, well, let me just ask you, does that make sense to everybody? You don't need me to put the whole recipe in, do you? No? Good. Right answer. Thanks, Kathy. All right. So that's 2 ways that you can put recipes. So you can import from Cookidoo, you can import from the recipe community. And the other thing you can do, I'm going back into created recipes here. I'm actually going to, actually cancel that because I need to, oops, let's confirm. I just put it in there. Done. All right. I will have to go back in and edit that. All right. But the other thing you can do is you can put your own recipes in. And to do that, you just click here and you go create recipe. All right. Now I just put something really simple I found from a recipe book of mine. A written recipe book. So you're not meant to actually add recipes from skinny mixers, and she actually says that in her new book, and from printed books. It's literally from Cookidoo adaptations from the recipe community, or your own recipes, or family favorites or whatever. I haven't made this forever, but anyway, I found it in there. So that's what I'm going to make. I don't have a picture. These I'll work out later, but here we go. That's where I can add my ingredients. So my ingredients are 4 eggs separated. There's not many ingredients. I chose something that was very easy. 115 grams caster sugar, 115 grams plain chocolate, 1 dessert apple quartered, and 115 grams of almonds. Okay, then I just type in the preparation, and I'm going, my first step is obviously to turn my oven on. Preheat oven to 180 degrees. That's good. Then my next one is lightly oil. Lightly oil base and size of a 20 centimeter springform tin. Okay, that's good. And then I'm going to, I'm being very thorough with this, okay? So I was going to do a vinegar wash because we're going to whip egg whites, all right? So you do a vinegar wash first. So I can actually, anyway, I'm just going to put 1 litre of water, add 1 litre of water, and 30 grams. So I hope you all know that if you're going to whip egg whites, then to be successful, you really need to do a vinegar wash before you do that. And so you're going to do that for 10 minutes, Varoma temperature and speed 4. Where are you? Speed 4. Okay, so that's your vinegar wash, and then you're going to rinse and dry your bowl. Okay, now ready to start. So I'm going to add the 4 egg whites. Now see, this is a really good example. So I need to have my eggs separated, but I could just go 4 egg whites there, or I need to have 4 egg yolks and 4 egg whites here. Okay, to add them straight in. I'm going to go 4 egg whites and 1 pinch of salt, and then I'm going to do where are we? This is why it's good to have it written down somewhere else. 6 minutes, 3.5. Okay, and so on. So I'm just going to keep building that recipe and keep adding it in step by step. Now, if when I'm doing a step and I think, oh, I should have that somewhere else, you can actually change the order of your step, or you can delete your step. Okay, I'm not going to put the whole recipe in. Again, I think you've got the gist of it. I've done enough of that. So I'm just going to confirm that, and I will finish that later. All right, so that is really the created recipe. So has anybody got any questions at all? We're going to go into scaled in a minute. Any questions about created? No? All right, we'll go into scaled then. So let me find the recipes I'm going to do for this. All right, so back into Cookidoo. And I'm going to explore, and I'm going to find the creamy coconut nuts chicken curry. Now I'm going to show you these two versions. So if I go onto the TM6 version, it says scaling functionality is not available for this recipe, and that is because there's high heat in that recipe. All right. So I'm going to go back and I'm going to click on the TM5 version, which is this one. And when I come to here, now I want you to have a bit of a look down at some of these ingredients before I actually play around with the serving size. I've got 700 grams of cauliflower there. Okay. What else have I got down there? You really need to have a look. So 700 grams of cauliflower, 500 grams of chicken thigh fillets. All right. So let's remember those. And now I'm going to change the portion size. And I'm going to make it for 8 people. So my 700 grams of cauliflower has gone up to 800 grams. And my 500 grams of chicken thigh fillets has gone up to 650, 700 grams. And my almond meal was 20 grams before. So that is the really super easy way. You can do that. And then if you add it to, cook today or add it to your week, it will come up, set at that number of portions. It will come up like that on the screen of your Thermomix to feed that many people. All right, so we've got the 8 portions there. We can do 4 portions and it's going to cut it down. So we've got 460 grams of cauliflower. We've got 15 grams of almond meal and 330 to 350 grams of chicken thigh fillets. All right, and as I mentioned before, that list that I put at the end of the little PowerPoint, I'll send that out to you. Those are all the recipes on Cookidoo that you can do that with straight away. Okay. The other way you can scale recipes is by putting them into created recipes. And let me find my example of that. So I'm going to explore again. Mexican beef shredded cheeks with quinoa chia tortillas. All right. So this one, it says it serves 4 portions. All right. I'm keen to try this one, I have to say. And if I click on here, it's going to say the same thing. If this is not the right serving for you, make it your own. So if I click on make it your own, it's your recipe, your responsibility. It will appear in your list of created recipes. It has not all the recipes will be automatically scaled. Check the result and modify where needed. But if I go start, I can come into here. So I'm now in created recipes, but you can see I've got the new serving sizes here. So if I click on what we've got, 50 grams of quinoa, let's go down to something a bit more substantial. Goodness, the beef cheeks. All right, we've got 900 grams of beef cheeks there. If I'm making it for 2, you can see that these ingredients, the amounts change. Okay, all the way down there. So I'm now 450 grams of beef cheeks. If I go up to serving 5, again, it's changed again, and my beef cheeks are now 1.13 kilos. All right. Now, what you will have to do, though, is have a look this side, and this is where you're going to have to do the editing, because it has, again, it's just saying quinoa and chia seeds. So if I, hang on, I saved that because that's saying my number of portions. Let's see, I wonder if it will. Quinoa. I'll tell you what we're going to do. We are going to go back to my screen. I'm going to click done. I'm going to see if it's actually put them in or not, the amounts in. Oops, just save it from shutting down again. So
a question, whether does it change the nutritional value?
Oh, I have no idea, Boone. But we'll see if it says anything at the bottom in a minute, all right? But thank you for for that. All right, I'm going to come back in over here. So my recipes, created value. I mean, the nutritional value should still be the same for each portion because the nutritional value is done by portion. So I think that's probably the answer. All right. Just thinking. All right. So now here we are in the beef cheeks. Start cooking. Preheat oven. All right. So it has automatically put those in. So I don't have to go in and actually fiddle around with them. All right. So it's told me how many grams of quinoa and chia seeds. And it's telling me. So that actually makes it really simple. All you have to do is choose what portion size you want. Okay. And the only other way of doing this is as I said, you can put your own recipe in again and obviously scale up and down. All right, so that's basically it. It's pretty simple stuff, but it takes a little bit of getting used to. So what I suggest, if you've got recipes that you want to put into creative recipes, then have a play. If you get stuck, call your consultant and we are more than happy to help you. And as you know, I have been recording this. Yes, still recording, and it will be available on my YouTube channel, and I will send you all a copy of it as well. All right. So, any other questions? Feel free to come off mute if you want to. I think it's probably just a question of going away and having a bit of a play, and seeing, you know, if there are things that don't quite work for you and coming back. I know I was really clunky at it when my first, you know, maybe 3 or 4 recipes, and it gets easier as you do more. I can't remember how many I've got in there now, but I've got, you know, 20 or 25 or something in there now, and it gets easier as you do more and more, but it is just a question of getting in there and having a play. So any questions at all? No?
Yeah, Bronwyn, do you want to explain what you actually mean, Bronwyn, to Mandy?
Was that the nutritional value stuff?
Yeah.
So I think that's probably, yeah, if you can see it on Cookidoo in the first recipe, then it's not going to change per portion, because let's have a quick look in Cookidoo. I don't think it's going to show anything particularly on here.
I think it should be the same, yeah.
But it will be, if we go back in here to our Mexican beef cheeks.
Why don't you go back to the pumpkin soup and have a look and see if the nutritional value changed with the ginger?
I don't think it will. I don't think it'll show the nutritional value. That's what I'm trying to say, I guess.
Right, okay, I get it.
In there, okay. But if we go into, sorry, I just have to move you guys again. Oh, you mean because I've changed the ingredient?
Yeah.
Okay, all right, yeah. Look, they probably, yeah, you're probably right, because the but it's not going to do that for you. You're going to have to do that yourself if you want to fiddle around with that. But just down here,
what happens if you go into the Asian one and just see if it does?
I will go and have a look in a second, but it is, nutrition is per portion.
Yeah.
So if you're changing your scaling, it's not going to change at all. All right. And I'll go into my recipes, and I'll go into created, and here it is. Yeah, no, it's not in there.
Yeah.
So you'd have to work that out yourself. Sorry.
I'm not actually that interested. I guess I was just wondering if that's how.
Yeah. No, fair enough. Fair enough. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Any other questions?
Is there actually a recipe called Asian pumpkin soup? It looks as if there is.
Oh, is there? Oh, this is the version that I do. So if there is one, Faye, absolutely, feel free to do that. But this is, I like the adaptation at the bottom of the pumpkin soup, and that's why I've done that.
Yeah, no, it looks fantastic.
Good. And I also wanted to find something that was pretty easy and wasn't going to take too long.
Yep.
Okay.
I have a question. So I just was wondering, when you upscaled you increase the number of portions, presumably the Thermomix would stop somebody overloading it.
Well, one of the things it does actually say is that you need to be mindful that you don't go over the maximum line of the bowl.
Right.
All right. And it takes 6 kilos. So, but I think, I mean, all those recipes we've looked at, they won't be 6 kilos. So, you know, it's more than 6 kilos, it's not going to like it. But, you know, I mean, that the meat in that beef cheeks went up to just over 1 kilo. So I think it should be fine. But it you know, I think what they're saying.
By the time you add your liquids, you might be getting too much sort of hot liquid in there. But yeah.
Well, again, you got to make sure you don't go over the maximum line of the bowl. But the maximum line of the bowl is 2.2 litres. And so that is, you know, 2 kilos, basically, 2.2 kilos. And if you've got your meat in there, maybe it's 3 kilos. I think you're going to be pretty hard pushed to go over 6 kilos. But that's one of the, you know, what do you call it, the waivers or whatever. It is, if you're changing a recipe, it is your responsibility to make sure that you're not doing something for that.
Okay.
Yeah, Megan, that's a good point. Megan said, I think they will have accounted for that. The scalable only goes to certain levels. So that beef cheeks only went to 5, whereas some of the other things that what was I looking at before, the creamy coconut chicken curry went to 8. Okay. So it's, you're probably that's probably very true. Thanks, Megan.
Thanks.
It's a pleasure. Anybody else got any questions?
Yeah, I've got another question.
Yep.
Is there an easy way, or what is the way to share your collected recipes? So, for example, if I take the time to key in a recipe, and it's in my created collections, and I rave about it to you, and I want to share it with you.
Yeah.
Or
that's a very good question. I had a feeling that
how do I do it the flip way? Like, how do I get your ones?
Yeah, so Megan's saying yes, you can. So Megan, would you mind coming off mute and explaining, because I haven't done it?
Yes. Can you hear me?
I'll tell you what, we'll come to you. Are you there? Can I find you?
Can you hear?
Yeah, I can hear you. I just need to find you so we can see you.
No, you can't see me because I haven't got the camera on.
Okay, all right.
Anyway,
okay,
but
we'll talk away.
You can do that. You can do that. I think you choose the 3 little dots. I'm not looking at mine at the moment.
Okay, all right. I'm just going to go into this. Yeah. But there's no 3 little dots on here. That's the thing.
Next to the ad.
Next to the ad. I'm being
Down
totally
the
blind
bottom.
here. Down the bottom, was it?
Instead of cook today ad, select the 3 dots. Go back up to the top.
Sorry, I'm just being
right there where it says
gotcha.
Today. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's edit recipe or delete recipe. Add to my week to my shopping list.
I've done more like where I've done the whole collection rather than an individual ones. Let me
right. Okay. So it doesn't. I'm not sure that you can at this point in time, but we'll ask questions and we'll find out and we'll let you know. All right. You know, I mean, in a normal Cookidoo recipe, sorry, I go back in there, a normal Cookidoo recipe, another, you know, hang on, so many things in the way here, my recipes. I'm just going to go into big porridge. Oh, actually, I always do it from my phone. It's really easy from your phone. So there are 3 little dots on your phone, and you can actually, or you can actually just share it, share a recipe from your phone. I'm not quite sure how to do it from the computer. It's just slightly different. All right, but yes, I will ask.
Yeah, that's correct. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Mandy. Yeah, you can do it from your phone with the 3 little dots at the top.
Yeah, I'll grab my phone.
Share.
Thank you, guys.
She said, "Where's the phone?" So on my little phone, if I go to my recipes, I'll just see if there is anything on created recipes. So for that, I don't think I can share a created recipe options. No.
It would be cool if you could, because that would mean that the work that you've done, for example, that creamy pumpkin. Like, I reckon that sounds great, but I'd
Yeah.
love to not have to do that.
Yeah, no, I
Mm.
understand. So I know, as I mentioned before, Irene did those hot cross buns and she put them into the recipe community because anybody can access them from there and import them into Cookidoo that way.
Right.
Yeah, I was just about to say, Mandy, I think that is the only way at the moment.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But if you've got like she said, a normal recipe from Cookidoo, I don't know if you can see this on my phone, but top right hand side, there's actually a little thing that you can click on there and you can then share it via text or an email or something to somebody.
Great.
Okay. All right. Any other questions? No? All right. Well, look, thank you for coming along. I hope that was helpful. I hope I'd love to know what recipes you adapt when you do. And yeah, please let your consultants know. And if you do need any help at all, then you know we're here to help you. So thank you for coming along, and I will stop recording. She says, I can find my recording. Where are we? Stop recording.